In class today, we started talking about surface area and volume of 3D shapes. And while we were in class, we only got through the main vocabulary of what prisms were, cylinders, pyramids, all of this vocabulary. So hopefully you have this paper because you're going to have to do some problems on your homework. So go ahead and flip this paper for me, please. Before we ended class, we were going over some of these problems. So I want to make sure I go over them and I understand that you understand what to do. If you don't have your formula sheet, you really want to pause this video and get the formula sheet out. Otherwise, this is going to be a bit of a nightmare for you. So notice the example 1. It says find the surface area and volume. So first thing you got to do is identify what the shape is. So if you notice, number 1, well, this is a cylinder. So I got to find the surface area first. So I'm going to, on my formula sheet, I'm going to look up the surface area formula. And ladies and gentlemen, these questions are 4-point questions on your test. Point number 1 is correctly writing the formula down. So surface area is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So fill in what I know. My radius is 14 squared plus 2 pi, my radius is 14, my height is 32. So you have two options. You can put this in terms of pi, which means we don't calculate pi in the calculator, or we can type in pi in the calculator. So I would do 2 times, and I don't have a scientific calculator, so I have to do 3.14. So 2 times 3.14 times 14 squared plus 2 times, well, actually, I gotta do this differently, sorry, because I'm using my cell phone because I did not bring a calculator home with me. So this is 1230.9, and now I'm going to type in the right side. 2 times 3.14 times 14 times 32. I get 2,813.4. And now I'm going to add 1,230.9 to that. My surface area is 4,044.3 inches squared. Now, if you use the pi button in the calculator, your decimals might be a little bit off of mine, and that's okay. That's because I used 3.14 because I don't have the right calculator. If I wanted to put this in terms of pi, just to show you, I would take this, and I'd calculate everything other than pi. So 14 squared is 196. 196 times 2 is 392. So I have 392 pi plus 2 times 14 times 32 is 896 pi. And then I would just add these together. So plus 392, I get 1,288 pi. So this also is my surface area, just depending on what my directions ask me to find. Alright? So now let's talk about volume. So before I talk about volume, let me talk about the 4 points on your test. Point 1 is correctly writing the correct formula down. Point 2 is correctly plugging in the right information. Point 3, correct answer, whether it wants it in decimal or it wants it in terms of pi. And your 4th point are your units. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're progressing here. Alright, cool. So now let's do volume. Point 1, copying down the formula, pi r squared h. Point 2, correctly filling in information, pi times my radius is 14, my height is 32. Point 3, getting the right answer. So 14 squared is 196 times 32. So I could do 6,272 pi inches cubed, or I can times that by pi, and I get 19,694.1 inches cubed. So either of these answers are acceptable. It doesn't tell you how to write your answer, which is why I'm showing you both. So now I'm going to skip down to number 3. Number 3 is what shape? It's a cone. So surface area, we're going to do first. 0.1, correct formula, pi r squared plus pi r L. So fill in the information. My radius is 8. My radius is 8 again. Notice I have this funny looking L. Notice this L. L in our notes, remember we talked about was slant height. Slant height, it's the height of the edge of your shape. So this right here is my slant height. So L is 11. So I'm now going to plug this into my calculator. I'm going to leave in terms of pi just because it's easier. 64 pi plus 88 pi, and then 64 plus 88 is 152 pi units squared. Because it didn't tell me my units, that's my surface area. Hopefully you're with me. Let's now do volume. Volume, 1/3 pi r squared h. So, alright, sorry, my phone keeps ringing. Alright, let's go back. Volume formula. Let's fill in what I know. 1/3 pi, my radius is 8 squared. H is my height. Ladies and gentlemen, height is always perpendicular to the radius. It always is this value right here. I don't know what that value is. But notice I have a right triangle. And this length right here is also the same length as my slant height. So that length right there is 11. So how do I find the height? Oh great, I now have to do more work and do the Pythagorean theorem. So x squared plus 8 squared equals 11 squared. So 121 minus 64, and then square root that, I get x equals 7.5. So my height is 7.5. Alright? So now I'm going to type all this in my calculator. Now this 1/3 right here, that just means I'm going to type in everything before it, and then at the end divide by 3. So 64 times 7.5 times pi, I get 1,507.2, and then I'm going to divide all that by 3, because that's what that 1/3 means. Divide by 3. So my volume is 502.4 units cubed. So hopefully this makes a little bit of sense. Your homework tonight, you need to do number 2 and number 4 on your own. And then on the next page, if you flip over to the next page, you need to do number 5 and number 7. Those are the 4 problems that you are doing. I don't want you to do more only because I am aware that these take a little bit of time. So you're doing 2, 4, 5, and 7. And then we'll go over those in class.